Hello everyone and welcome to this pre-recorded parental information evening about the Year 9 options process for January 2021. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mr. Mallard. I'm one of the assistant head teachers here at East Burgholt High School, and I have a responsibility for the curriculum that we offer our students. And within that responsibility, I look after the Year 9 options process as each Year 9 cohort goes through. Apologies for the changes that we've made and some of the short notice to those changes. As I'm sure you can appreciate, lots of adaptations are having to be made at the last minute as more and more information is given to us and as more and more governmental changes are being made. Our hope is that it's much more user-friendly and convenient by pre-recording these sessions and making them available to you on our school website. You will be able to ask questions, and I'll provide email addresses for you to ask questions. For these scheduled evenings, there was never going to be a Q&A aspect of it, so you're not missing out on anything by us pre-recording this particular presentation. Further apologies if I say anything that you're already aware of, or if I repeat myself, or that you've heard before. I just want to make sure that I give as much information as I can in the time that I have got. The entire options process for this year is now going to be online, which is obviously going to pose an enormous challenge to both us as a school, but also to the students and yourselves as parents. I'm just going to ask for a little bit of patience and understanding as we go through this process, because it's obviously going to be the first and probably only time that we'll ever do this virtually. So inevitably there are going to be stumbling blocks along the way. It's very a different way of working. Because we would usually be able to have one-to-one conversations with the students in school, but we'll endeavour to do our best by using the technology that's available to us. So let's make a start on the PowerPoint. So as I said, usually this presentation would be part of an evening that we would hold in the main hall, and you'd have the opportunity to ask questions once the presentation was over. Hopefully this event will be able to be a suitable alternative. If you do have any questions once I finish this particular presentation, I've put 2 email addresses on the slide that you can contact us at school. So I put Mr. Whedon, the head of Year 9's email address, and I put myself or my email address, sorry, on the slide as well. So please do get in touch if there's any questions or if there's anything that's not clear once I finish the presentation and once we've sent out the letters, which I'll go on and explain momentarily. Now that your child is in Year 9, obviously they're going to be faced with a number of different options that they can take in terms of the subjects that they choose at Key Stage 4. Some of the subjects on their curriculum are non-negotiable and they make up our core curriculum, but there are a number of different options that they can select so that they can tailor the curriculum to their needs. I'm going to give you the information about this process. I'm going to give you some information about some of the changes that have been made based on our prior understanding and knowledge of the process, but also based on the cohort of Year 9 that are coming through. And we want to make sure that the curriculum that we're offering to them is the most suitable curriculum for the students themselves. Tomorrow morning, students will get a similar presentation from myself that's also pre-recorded and that will be delivered to them in their live tutor time session. And as well as that, we've produced a options booklet that's going to be made available on the school website at the same place that you would have found this presentation. And the form tutors of Year 9 will be posting this booklet into their Google Classrooms. So please make sure that you read the options booklet as well, because there is some information in there on each of the individual subject areas, as well as all of the information that I'm going to present here. So it'll be a good idea to sit down with your child and read through that as well. So in terms of the qualifications that we're going to be offering here at East Burgholt, for the vast majority of students, they'll be taking GCSEs, General Certificate of Secondary Education. Previously, we had a lettered system of GCSEs. We have moved to a numbered system, which is 1 to 9, 9 being the highest grade that you can achieve at GCSE level and 1 being the lowest. A 4 is what we consider to be, or what the government considers to be, a standard pass, and a 5 is what is considered a good pass. In terms of what students need for college and sixth form, it depends on the course that they want to go on and do. Some of them will ask for grade 4s, some of them will ask for grade 5s. In terms of English and maths, students must have a grade 4 in English and maths in order to progress to post-16 study. If they don't have a grade 4, then they'll have to resit English or maths until at the age of 18, or until they manage to pass and get that 4. Students will all be given target grades, and those target grades are based on their Year 6 SAT score. and then it's calculated what they should be getting at Key Stage 4 as a consequence, and that is their minimum really. We're hoping that they'll be able to exceed the target grades that they will be set. And most subjects have terminal exams. So in previous years, you might have things like coursework or controlled assessments, which have pretty much vanished from the curriculum itself. Terminal exams is students sit a number of exams at the end of year 11, and their qualification is based on how they perform in those exams. There are some exceptions, and I will go through those exceptions as I progress through the PowerPoint. As well as GCSEs, we also offer technical awards, and they're an alternative to GCSEs. Still qualifications, and students are still able to progress onto post-16 education, but the content in them slightly different, and therefore they are more desirable for a certain type of student. So there is more focus in the technical awards on the practical application of the qualification. But what I want to just stress is that doesn't mean that all of them are 100% practical based subjects. There is an awful lot of theory in these subjects as well, and it doesn't necessarily mean that if students take a technical award, there will be no exams. Unlike GCSEs, however, technical awards tend to have non-examined assessments throughout the year. Some of the subjects, it can be as high as 60%. And by non-examined assessments, what we mean is coursework or controlled assessments throughout the 2 years. Units where students are assessed at the end of that unit and then move on to the next one. And therefore the terminal exam at the end of year 11 is somewhat lessened. And therefore for some of these students, the pressure is somewhat lessened because they're not having to sit as much content right at the end of year 11. They're still challenging though, because they do have that terminal aspect and because there are a number of units which make up the qualification itself. And rather than a 9-to-1 grade, students will get a pass, merit or distinction as a consequence of sitting the qualification. As I said, these qualifications can be used in post-16 study and will clearly mark in the options booklet which of our subjects are technical awards or BTECs. So the curriculum as it stands. Some subjects that all students in Year 9 will be taking, and I've listed this on this particular slide. All students will sit English language, English literature, mathematics. They will sit a science, which is either going to be a triple science or a combined science. All students will do core PE. And in addition to this year, all students will take either geography or history. A couple of things to clear up on this slide to make it as clear as it can be. For science, triple science is equivalent to 3 GCSEs, and it's a GCSE in all 3 of the disciplines, chemistry, biology and physics. Combined science, they study all 3 disciplines, but they get 2 GCSEs at the end of year 11. So there's slightly less content to cover. Core PE is not a GCSE qualification. It's an opportunity for students to stay fit, to stay active, and to work on key skills such as teamwork and team building exercises. Geography and history from the humanities department, we think are fundamentally important subjects for students because they will help induct students into society, and there are certain key skills and elements in both of these humanities subjects that will enable them to succeed in other subject areas and in their post-16 studies. So we're asking students to select one of them. If students wish to take geography and history, they can take both of them. That will work on our timetable. However, we're asking that they just take one of them as a core curriculum subject. If they want to take the second one, that will become an option choice. So for the rest of the students' timetable, this is the suite of option subjects that they can choose from, and it's on the bullet next to the bullet point. I won't run through all of them, but those are all of the subjects that are going to be on offer for our Year 9 students moving into Year 10 in 2021. The number of subjects that they're able to choose from that list will depend on the science qualification that they will follow. If they choose combined science, that's 2 GCSEs, so there is an additional option choice they can make. If they choose triple science, that's 3 GCSEs. So in effect, one of the option choices is triple science. Additionally, students will be asked to select 2 reserve choices. The reason why we ask them to choose those reserve choices is because we cannot guarantee students' first choice. We will endeavour to do everything we can to give as many students their first choice as possible, but sometimes it's just not possible for us to do that. It might be that there aren't enough students to uptake that particular subject. It might be that there are too many students for that subject and we can't split them into two groups, so we don't have staffing for two groups. It might be that options, once they are blocked on the timetable, are blocked once against one another, and therefore students can't take both of them. It has to be one or the other. Or it might be financially we can't offer that particular subject once we get to looking at the details of who has taken it. So we ask them to make informed reserve choices, because when we're going through it, we will put their reserve choice in if we can't offer one of their first choices, so that at least they've got that reserve choice and we're not giving them an option subject that they haven't thought about and made a positive decision on. This is the way in which the chart will work, and this is in the options booklet as well. So it's just making it slightly easier for students to understand in terms of how they select their options. So you've got the core curriculum at the top. You then make a selection for either geography or history from humanities. You then pick from the two routes below. One route is triple science, where you get 2 open selections in that options bucket at the bottom. And the other is the combined science route, where you will have 3 open selections based on those suite of subjects that we are offering. In red in those boxes are our technical awards. So art and design practice, BTEC PE, creative eye media, health and social care, and hospitality and catering are all technical awards that are on offer to students. And the subjects that are in black are GCSE subjects. A couple of things to note about some of these subjects down here. Art and design practice is a brand new qualification that's being run by the DT department, and it takes the place of creative crafts, which is a subject we used to offer. It's more suited, art and design practice, to our bespoke curriculum students who would have already received the letter before Christmas to indicate that we were offering them something bespoke. If you haven't received the letter before Christmas, then what we'd recommend, if you're thinking of taking a DT subject, is to take DT or to take food preparation and nutrition. If you received the letter before Christmas, our recommendation would be art and design practice or hospitality and catering. You'll also see on the list there are 2 PE subjects. You've got BTEC PE and you've got GCSE PE. I just need to point out that GCSE PE has an enormous amount of theoretical content within it. It's much more suited to students who are strong biologists. So we would recommend that students who are strong within science think about PE, GCSE PE as an option subject. If science is not a strength of the student, we would recommend that they take BTEC PE, which is a lot more practical based and has those smaller units that students can work towards gaining a technical award in. If your child selects GCSE PE and we think they're more suited to BTEC PE, then we will make that recommendation to you. But we will always endeavour to keep lines of communication open as far as possible, so that you know any of those changes that we make and you're part of the process itself. All of those subjects have their own page in the options booklet, so please have a look in the options booklet and read the course content. Students think they know something about a subject, and in reality it can be quite different to what they were thinking it was going to be. So it's really important to read that booklet and to get as much information as you can. So I've mentioned recommendations a couple of times. As part of this process, every single parent who hasn't already received a letter will receive a letter tomorrow morning, Thursday the 7th of January, that will make strong recommendations on the subjects that your child should choose. The letter is generic, and then we have a specific paragraph in there that's about your child. These recommendations are based on the subjects that we think the students will be successful in. So what we want you to do is to contact us if there's anything wrong with these recommendations, or you have any concerns with the recommendations that we've put in place. They are recommendations, which means that students aren't going to be forced to do those particular subjects, but those recommendations are things that we've really carefully thought about and areas that we think students can excel in. We think students can excel in these because we thought about what other students have done that is similar to them in previous years. We've had a look at the specifications themselves and made adaptations, and we've thought about the aptitude of the student, and we've made the recommendations based on those. We've done that in consultation with the heads of department and subject teachers, as well as a senior leadership team. So it's a whole process that we've been going through since September, and we've really thought carefully about those recommendations. So when you receive the letter, if there's any problems or concerns with them, please do get in touch with Mr. Whedon or myself, and we'll be able to open a communication with you and talk about those a bit more. As I said on the previous slide, More information about the option subjects can be found in the booklet. The booklet contains all the information about the core curriculum subjects as well, so please do make use of that booklet too. And it'll also detail some of the different skills and attributes that students will need to demonstrate for each of the different option subjects. The letter that you get tomorrow, there may be a reference in that letter to a one-to-one individual SLT consultation with students. They obviously won't be taking place because we're not in school. The reason that's in the letter is we wrote those letters and we scheduled them to send before the information came out from the government on Monday evening. And it was too late to stop those letters from sending and then to replace all the letters themselves, as I'm sure you can appreciate. So in those letters, if it mentions a one-to-one meeting, unfortunately that can't take place because school is only open to key worker and vulnerable students. But like I said, we've got the 2 email addresses that you can contact us on, and me and Mr. Whedon are happy to deal with any concerns or any questions that you may have. One thing that I do need to mention is the English Baccalaureate. The English Baccalaureate is not a qualification in itself, but it's a series, it's a set of subjects that are favoured by colleges and universities. So the EBAC is English Literature, English Language, Mathematics, a Science, triple or combined, Geography or History, and a modern foreign language. And then what I've done for that 3rd bullet point is I've just put a quotation from the gov.uk website about the English Baccalaureate. What it argues is that evidence suggests that the English Baccalaureate means that a student is more likely to stay in full-time education, and it's going to present students with more opportunities as they move through their education. There's also some evidence to suggest that the EBAC supports students' performance within English and mathematics. So some of our recommendations in the letter are based on the EBAC, of thinking about the EBAC subjects, where we think that this is something that some of our students should be looking at, because it will give them those opportunities to go to those higher education facilities as they go through after post-16 and into university. However, if we have recommended some of these EBAC subjects, it doesn't mean students have no options to choose freely. Every student will get to choose at least one option choice freely, and no matter what recommendations we are making. So no student's letter will say you have to do these subjects and you have no choice as to what you do. Everyone will get a free choice, but you just need to know that some of the options and some of the recommendations we've made are based on the English Baccalaureate and this really challenging set of subjects. In terms of making choices, we always put this slide up every single time we do the options process, and we want to make sure that students make the most informed decision that they can. So a series of questions that students can ask themselves: what are the subjects they want to do? What are their progress like? Will they be successful in those subject areas? How do the choices that they're making now influence what they're going to do in post-16? Have they thought about a career and what their path is from GCSE to that career? And what is available to them in terms of university or apprenticeships? As I said, career aspirations, and what are their skills? What are their strengths? Just a list of do's and don'ts as well that we put up, and it's in the options booklet as well. We want to make sure that there's as much communication as possible. So we're saying to students, talk to parents and carers, talk to your tutors, subject leaders, teachers, talk to the senior leadership team. We're all available via email, and a telephone call to the school will be answered. Do read the subject pages in the information booklet. Do try and make sure you have a balance of subjects in your curriculum, and that you're not just doing one type of subject, but that you're making it as broad as you possibly can, and be realistic about the demands of the course, and be realistic about your ability and which subjects you'll be able to do. Don't choose subjects where their friends might be choosing those particular subjects. It's their future, so it's decisions that are right for them, and there's no guarantee they'll be in classes with their friends, and certainly no guarantee they'll be sat next to their friends. That shouldn't be the driving factor behind decisions that they're making. Don't choose a subject because of a particular teacher, because there's no guarantee that that teacher is actually going to teach them. And don't not choose a subject because of a particular teacher, because there's no guarantee that that teacher will teach them either. Students don't know anything about the teachers in terms of who's assigned to which subject and which option class, because the timetable is only written after we've been through the option process. So don't choose it because of a teacher, and don't not choose it because of a teacher. We don't know who's going to teach you until it's actually drawn up in the timetable. And don't be misled by the title of the subject. please make sure you read the information booklet carefully and that you know what the content of the subject is going to be, and don't just read, oh, it says this and therefore it must mean I'll be doing X, Y, and Z. It's really important to read all of the information, do your own research, and you make the most informed decision that you possibly can. So in terms of the timeline, this has been adapted slightly, obviously, because of the changes. The timeline in blue is the timeline for students. So they'll have their options assembly tomorrow, which will be pre-recorded and delivered in form time. The options letters will go home tomorrow morning as well. For parents, the parental information evening, this is replacing the parental information evening, Wednesday, the 6th of January. The Year 9 parents evening at the moment is scheduled to go ahead and will be virtually, will be done online. And that's for Wednesday, the 3rd of February. And what we're leading towards is the student selection, which needs to be done by Friday, the 19th of February, which is the end of half term. That selection will be made via Google Forms. And I will send the Google form home after a couple of weeks. So you won't have it immediately. It'll give you a chance to have conversations about what you might like to take and have conversations with your children and with form tutors and with subject teachers. It'll give you an opportunity to attend that parents' evening, and then I'll release the Google form and you'll be able to, with your child, make the selections that you want to make. Ideally, we'll be confirming those options around Monday the 15th to Friday the 22nd of March. If there are any changes, if there are anything that we need to do, if we want to speak to students about problems with their first choices, then we will make sure that we get in touch with you and that you're part of the process throughout. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully that clears as much up as possible. If there's anything that's not clear, please wait for the letter that will come through on Thursday morning, and then please do get in touch with Mr. Whedon or myself. But thank you very much for listening, and take care all.